Thank you very much for inviting me, and congratulations to this organization for doing its wonderful work. And what a great turnout, it's not so easy to get people with narcolepsy to attend meetings or support groups or even to make their frequent visits to their physicians. How many people here do not procrastinate? I'm going down because I do now and then, I procrastinate. All right, so there's no one here who does not. All right. So I had estimated that it's a universal problem, procrastination. And I found it in India, I found it in my relatives. When I was a younger person, teens and 20s, I used to procrastinate, especially in college. And here I find people procrastinate at work. Administrative delays are there because of procrastination. So it's a good topic to think about, to meditate on. That's how we find all the solutions to our problems. And so what I'm going to do today is, first I'm going to give you my definition of the word procrastination. So I have no slides, but you have handouts on your, it's a newsletter that we publish. And just a few revisions because I retired last year. And so the Narcolepsy Institute does not exist anymore. And we were providing comprehensive services to people with narcolepsy. Comprehensive psychosocial support services, running support groups, and whole lot of non-pharmacological management of narcolepsy. And the newsletter I've been publishing, so I just continued doing that. There's a grant for that. So in the newsletter you'll find what I'm going to talk about. That's procrastination, its meaning, consequences, and management. Now just to define so that we're talking about the same thing. Sometimes we make delays, or there is denial, there is avoidant behavior, there are other things that lead to procrastination. But my definition here is putting off intended tasks despite awareness of negative consequences, leading to feelings of discomfort. Because even if we put off tasks and if we are quite happy about it, that doesn't fall in this definition. But if it keeps on bothering you. I'll give an example. I know when I was a student, as a youngster, if I had to write a paper, I would delay it. And then I would get nervous about it and feel awkward about it. And then the solution to that was to just go ahead and do it. And so that's what I mean, that if you have feelings of discomfort, then it's an issue. Now, most of the time, the problems that we've had, especially, I'll talk about narcolepsy specifically, in our program, that there were problems with putting away things, problems with not making appointments, problems with organizing your books, paperwork, and your closets, too many clothes, too many shoes, too many books. And they would just, lie there, and nobody's looking at it. I have to do it, I'll do it someday. So these are the common issues with procrastination. And it can be classified as behavioral, which is actual, and then it's a trait. That means, you have a personality type that procrastinates. So I'm not going to go too much into the studies because I want this to be a practical session where you will also teach me and I can give you whatever ideas I have. So studies have found that procrastination is, do you think it's always bad, or could it be good sometimes? Well, I'll tell you under what circumstances it can be good. But for instance, when I'm writing a paper, I'll write it and then I'm not happy with it. I put it away even for a year. I know I have to do it, I want to do it. But those thoughts crystallize in your mind, they germinate, and it makes my paper better, I think. I get some new ideas, I may run into new research. So I let it sit there for a while. So that kind of, this Chu and Choi have done this study. They call them positive procrastinators. And they are just like non-procrastinators in terms of time management, self-efficacy, belief, and coping styles, and measurement of certain outcomes, including academic performance. So it's not a bad thing, provided it's deliberate and you know what you're doing and you set a deadline for that. Now the epidemiology, it's universal, I would say, but here it's just 15 to 20% of the general population has been estimated in one study. I do have a friend, though, who doesn't procrastinate. Yeah, there are rare people, but, you know, is there anyone here? I just asked earlier, but now, according to this definition, do you still think does everybody procrastinate here? No, okay, everybody does. Include me in it also, okay. So what they found, most of the studies are done on college students because it's a captive audience, and at that age, I think we procrastinate more than as we grow older, more mature, you know, we change our habits and we recognize what's good in the long run for us, so we do better than when we are teenagers or in our 20s. So in 80 to 90% they have this figure here who procrastinate when in college. Okay, now, so what are the consequences? Why should we not procrastinate? So I'm going to go over my list first, then I'm going to ask you what you think. First of all, it's a stumbling block to attainment of your goals. It disrupts your flow of work and also flow of life. It leads to anxiety, and because you don't fulfill your obligations. Anxiety again leads to procrastination, and it becomes a vicious cycle. It might even disrupt relationships. It wastes time, and you spend worrying about the task and get irritable and depressed. And also it could affect your financial status if you don't get your financial planning, retirement planning, everything in a timely manner, or not filling your taxes. Now that's, everybody procrastinates taxes. Somehow it's very, you know, you have to pull out all those paperwork and sit down and do it, and it's difficult. So, you know. It also, now this is important for us from our point of view today here, health behavior. That means making appointments for checkups, for treatment, and it can have serious consequences on health, relationships, and also finance. Now, one study in Norway they did was, and I'm just going to talk about the results that they had. Proactive coping was associated with frequency of toothbrushing and reason for dental visits. And procrastination and proactive coping were important determinants of perceived oral health and self-reported oral health behaviors. Now, procrastination and heart disease. What they found was, after controlling for certain relevant factors, they found that older age, lower education, and higher procrastination rates were associated with heart disease and cardiovascular disease. So, you know, do you have relatives or a spouse or a child who procrastinates? Anyone? Yes. All right. And then there were maladaptive behaviors in this group of patients that they studied. Now, can you think of how procrastination has affected you in any way? Give me one example, anyone, that you procrastinated and it had a negative consequence. Yes? That's right. That's very common, right? Yes. Paying bills late. Anyone else? How about making your preventive visits to your dentist? Let me take the dental, because we tend to neglect our oral health a lot. There are many reasons because of the saliency and the severity of the condition. Other things are more important. So dental work always is put in the back burner, right? Yeah. All right, so that's the consequence, right? Now, why we procrastinate? So there are, what I find, people procrastinate because there is some threat of evaluation, fear of being evaluated, that it'll be negative, and if I write a paper, for instance, and if somebody doesn't like it, so I'll just delay it, Or especially, if you have children, then school children might do a lot of that, just delaying it. So this one study, again, they found that, now it's a bit confusing, but those who have low trait procrastinator, those who are low trait procrastinators, and they're in the low evaluation threat group, they delayed more than the high trait procrastinator. In other words, people who are just easygoing, they just take it easy, They don't, it's not procrastination in the real sense. But if they just, if they delay, whatever they have to do, and the threat is not high enough, then they are more than the high trait procrastinators. So the authors suggest that perhaps if the threat can be increased, perhaps they'll get going and, hand in their assignments or whatever they have to do. All right. Now another thing which I have found is that there are too many competing tasks, and you don't have enough time to do everything. So, and we feel that, because I have done it, I feel I need a large block of time, especially in writing papers. But so I don't do it because I just keep it. But what I learned to do is to work in chunks, work on parts of it. I collect the data, then I write a part of the paper, then I go on back again to the paper and write a part of it. And this way it gets done. Then there are other things. Now, what about narcolepsy itself? What is so peculiar about narcolepsy that it's a major problem with all my patients? I found that, procrastination was a major problem. So one thing I've always noticed is that people with narcolepsy, they have delayed response to everything. Like even if in the interview, if I talk to them, and I ask them a question, it takes them a little while to respond, and they're not so spontaneous in the beginning. Now, once they get started, then they're okay. So it's just that delayed response. The other major problem I've found in people with narcolepsy is attention span. It's not that their memory is poor, but the attention span is short. They tend to wander off, even in support groups, because I got to see my patients very closely, and for many, many years, the same patients kept coming back, so, I could study them. And this has been confirmed by objective research, whatever I have observed clinically. Because after all, research is done because we observe something clinically, then we do the research to confirm it. So it's because in a support group discussion, I find some patients miss out on many things. And it's not that, they have a poor memory, it's that the mind tends to wander, or maybe they're dozing off and they don't know it. micro sleep. So now another thing is low energy. People with narcolepsy, they have slightly depressed. So these things, it affects, your level of procrastination. So it's understandable, but it's not impossible to cure it in some way or the other. Now another study, they found that chronotype, and according to, was associated with procrastination. And what they found was that the morning types, that they are kind of tend to procrastinate less than evening types. I don't know, it's not duplicated, the study, so I'm not sure of that. But this is just one of the studies. Now, evening types in one study, or owls, were more likely to report bedtime procrastination on work days compared with morning types. And so this, according to these authors, in quotes, that this is not a result of self-regulation, but rather because you're a morning type, so that's why you delay. Then supposing you find that whatever you're going to do, whatever you have to do, the rewards are delayed, then you may also delay the actions you're going to take to conduct your project or whatever action you have to take. So this much about why we procrastinate, but there are other reasons also. Can you think of other reasons? And give us an example from your own experience. If you procrastinated on something, just think about it, meditate on it for a second, and you will find the reason why you know. It's just that we don't take enough time to go within ourselves. Yes. Yes, see, that I was coming to that task appeal, which means that what is fun and not fun. Now, sometimes, I know one mother was telling her son to write a letter. He wasn't writing it because he didn't know how to express himself, and to a letter of thanks to someone. So this was a youngster, well, he was about 20 years old, 18, 20. But he just wasn't doing it. In the end, he wrote a letter, "Dear Aunt, whoever," whole page is blank, and then he signs his name. So that was his letter, because I think he was awkward about expressing himself. So that was, that's an issue with teenagers. We can have that. So, but some tasks may bring about sad memories. Is that the nature of the work is such that we delay it. We don't want to do it. And otherwise, sometimes it's too difficult or too complex. So, okay, I'll do it another time, Or it's going to take up too much of your time and you don't have 3 hours or 8 hours to do it. Okay, so we'll go into how we manage, then we'll discuss that. So again, I'll give you an example of one of our patients who said, "I have no room to sleep." I said, "How come? You have an apartment?" "No, it's all my clothes are all over the place." So she had not organized her clothes. So I said, "What about your bed?" "There are clothes on my bed." So what I ended up doing with her is I said, "Okay, let's first clear your bed." So how do you clear your bed when you have no other space to put your things in? So we had to first clear her dresser. So gradually, she got to clearing each drawer, and then she put the clothes on the bed that were, and she had a bed to sleep now. Then she had kept her mother's, it's a kind of hoarding, but it's still, she wanted to do it, but she couldn't, So why? Because of memories. Her mother's clothes, mother died 10 years back, and she had still kept her clothes and she couldn't part with them. So I said, "Look, if you give them to somebody, donate them, you'll make somebody happy." That she perked up at once, Okay, I'll do that. So she did some, but not too much. She was a chronic, severe procrastinator. And she was not a hoarder as such, but she just, and very sentimental, couldn't do it. And she needed somebody who will really work with her every day to do that. So anyway, so this is just an example. Okay, can you think of some other example that you have to do it, but you're not doing it? It will have a cathartic effect, if it comes to the surface of your consciousness and you talk about it. I bet when you go home you'll be able to do it. Is there a letter you have to write? Is there a closet you have to organize? Yes.
Filling out forms.
Filling out forms?
Paperwork. And because I'm so tired all the time,
Yeah.
complex, it's overwhelming, and I'm tired. So it's a lot of things that are combined.
Yeah. It takes up a lot of time and lot of thought and lot of facing the situation, facing reality as to why you're doing it. So that's not an easy thing. It's exhausting. Because we live in denial, a lot of the time. We make things easier for ourselves in a very false way, but we don't look within and find out the reason. So we just keep on evading it, whatever we have to do. Okay, so that much about the consequences and the causes. Now, how do we manage it? First, let me hear from you. How can you manage it? Yes.
Plan a reward for yourself after you accomplish the task.
That's a great idea. Great idea. Plan a reward for yourself after you've done it. All right. What else? Now that I didn't have in my list, so you've helped me. Thank you. Anything else? Pardon me?
Sometimes you need other people to really support you for what you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It plays a great role when other people support you. You know what you want to do. It's just a matter of getting it together. Sometimes you need other people to support you.
Absolutely, that's very important. Okay, you need support to do whatever you have to do. Yes. Great idea to make a list. All right? Yes.
Sometimes if I'm just not able to get started, I'll just pick an easy thing that I know I can win with. And that gives me that jump start, like, ooh, I got a little bit of energy from that one. Because you do get energy when you accomplish that task. You're energized after.
Right. I'm just looking at I have some time. Yes. Okay, that's another great idea. That it energizes you, right? Because you get started, you get all the chemicals flowing and, all right, great idea. It's a matter of starting it, right? Now again, I've found this in people with narcolepsy, that it's not that they're lazy or they don't want to do anything, it's hard for them to get started. And because I have had patients who will tell me, I sit for long periods of time and I don't do anything. Why is that? So that is due to, again, delayed reaction. Everything is slow and some connections haven't taken place for the action to occur. So that's why it's all slow. And I had hired once a graduate student and he had severe narcolepsy. Yes, anyone at the back? No, okay. He had severe narcolepsy and he was doing his graduate work. So I got him for the summer and he was very bright, very creative. And, I had other PhDs as my, coordinators and all doing the work. And this was for the summer and he was just doing his master's degree. He was able to get more people to attend the support group than the PhD coordinator. So he was that creative and had great relationships. That's when he was not sleepy. One day he asked me, how is it I wake up in the mornings and I just sit there, and before I know, it's an hour has passed by and I have to go somewhere and I'm not dressed up. So I said, well, it takes you too long to maybe make decisions. She says, no, maybe it takes you too long to decide what to wear, I said, maybe you have too many clothes. I have only one suit. I have to wear only one suit. So that's not, it's not that, I don't know why. But what was happening, so I noticed when he was working with us, if he was not doing anything, he would just doze off. So the trick is to keep yourself on your feet. And even I've noticed that and to listen to somebody is hard, especially with narcolepsy. So it's okay to get up, to stand up, to go at the back, take a little sip. Water is a miracle, I have found. You drink a small cup of water and you feel refreshed for a while. It's not a cure, but it helps you a lot to get going. So now management, how many minutes I have? 5. Okay. How do you manage now? Okay, so you gave very good ideas. So the key word is time management. Okay. So in one study they showed that those who attended this course in time management, that it was helping in reducing worry and procrastination at work. Now first, I have many points here, but it's only because if you ponder more, then I've just broken down the thoughts into many thoughts. So first of all, acknowledge that you have procrastination. I've seen people give many excuses. No, because I want it to be good, so I'll find a lot of time, then I'll do it. Oh, I'll do it when I've retired. But no, that's not a good excuse either, whatever you want to do. Procrastination robs you of many of your talents and happiness. I'll come to that later. Because, so you have to acknowledge that you do procrastinate. Okay? And look at let's say your closet, you're not fixing your closet. Look at it, how, it's untidy and you can't find your stuff. Imagine when it's all organized, how it will look. So I'm just going to, because this is a common problem with many people with closets. Then develop a positive affirmation. So that's a whole new big lecture by itself on affirmations. But so say, I feel good about it, I'm going to do it, it's pleasant, I like it. If you develop a happy feeling about the accomplishment that you're going to do now and the task, how it looks in the end, you will get motivated to do it. And so how to get organized for this? So you develop a list, which somebody said, and then set priorities. Now somebody said here to do an easy thing, it gets you started. Okay, that's one way. I'm saying pick up the more complex task. Because once you pick up your complex task, everything else becomes easy, But if it works for you, by all means, you pick up something very easy, get yourself started, get all the chemicals flowing. And set deadlines and self-impose social control. Tell your friends, I'm doing this, because when they ask you, you have to report to them in some way or the other. So you have to tell them, so that social control is good. So the highest priority task you should pick. What is immediate, what's the most important thing. And think of the time you're going to allocate. And then take small projects to start out with, chunking, so that you can see immediate results. This is an example I wanted to give, but I have 3 minutes more maybe. So anyway, get started and create a happy, positive, bright environment that you like. Prepare your materials. Think of working for only 15 minutes or even 10 minutes. Whatever it is that you want to do. Either you're a painter or artist or whatever. So, but unless you have it all set up, you're not going to get down to it. So set up your table or and look at your closet, how you're going to plan it. And then it's more, once you get started, you will devote more time than 5 or 10 minutes because you'll feel happy doing it. And if you do get tired, which especially with narcolepsy you may, but then suspend all activity for a few minutes, only 5 minutes. But do not use the television, smartphone, internet, and do not nap. And for large projects, try to get some assistance. Get a buddy to work with you. Common errors that people make are picking low priority tasks because they are easy. Priority, I'm saying, not just the easy part. If an easy project may be high priority for some. And they distract themselves watching shopping, internet, go out, whatever, And then most important, I put it last, but it should be first, denial. That if you don't even acknowledge you have a problem, then you're not going to work on it. So in the end, I would say have a positive, happy frame of mind. When you're happy inside, you will get your work done, and you'll enjoy it, and you'll enjoy the rewards later. And so we have to keep on working on your determination, and again repeat the affirmations that you have developed earlier. And you have to do it anyway, whatever the task is. Either it's filling out forms if it's urgent. So be happy about it. Don't. Even in diet, I've found that there's a study also that shows that when people are happy with their diet, they're more likely to lose weight and feel good about it later on. But if they're unhappy, it doesn't work. If they keep on grumbling, why do I have to go on this diet? Oh, I hate what I eat. It doesn't work. And patience will get you there. So now I want to ask you one question. What is the most valuable asset you have? Any answer is a positive answer and it's a good answer, so don't hesitate. Pardon me? Health. Yes. Energy, health. What? Determination? Yes. So all these are very, very positive, very, very good answers. Anything else? Resilience. I didn't hear that. Resilience. Resilience is very important. Now the most valuable asset, yes?
Conscious living, thinking about the...
Excellent. Excellent, yes. So conscious. So these are, assets. I haven't learned to frame this question, and I'm looking for all kinds of responses. Sometimes I ask, what is the most important thing? And one of my patients said, well, in the support group, to do good and to be right, which is very important. That's what life should be, to do what is right and to do what is good. And consciousness is very good. That's what helps you to do and make your decisions and your direction. But I say the most valuable asset or the most valuable thing you have is time. Because if you don't have time, you're dead. Okay? Because when time runs out, that's the end stage. So if you don't use your time, you're not going to have any of those other valuable assets that you're talking about. So time is what we are wasting when we procrastinate. So I was coming to that. So now I just thought of it all this because, and believe me, my key word in everything and wherever I go, I end up saying meditate. Take some time to go within and examine yourself. This is a lower kind of meditation, but higher levels where you don't think at all and you're lost in your super consciousness. So that's different. So now I end up by saying, you want to add anything? Anyone? Yes.
I think the most valuable resource we have is each other.
Excellent. Yes.
We live in such an individualistic society.
Yes.
And so we constantly think about just what we have, but we can't function without each other.
Very good, very good. Social support is very good. I have done studies, one study on that, social support, and the way, you know, once people start gathering and interacting, and it's a great thing to know, but social support and support can come in different ways. One is through your friends, your family, right? And for some people it may even come through your literature that you read, because you can interact with that, whoever, for some. And for others at another level of, if it's very transcendental, then you're in support with your creator, you know, in touch with your creator. That's the highest level of support that you can get. If you can get that, then everything else follows. So now I end up with saying life is an adventure. Life is a challenge. Life is a gift. Life is a miracle, because things work out in the end if you keep working towards it. So be grateful for everything you have, for having each other, for coming here, and for this beautiful meeting that you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
That was wonderful. I really appreciate it.